Boleh bergandengan tangan.
Oh, tulas standing.
Tulas standing ya. Tulas standing kali ini.
Momen tulas standing dalam debat bertajuk On Nation Knockout Challenge Miss Universe Indonesia 2024.
Knockout kali ini.
Nadia.
Ada CLARA. Ada siapa? Nadia. Cuma dua ya, CLARA dan juga Nadia. Untuk itu kami mengundang Mr. Jordan Asoka Iqbal untuk merapat ke sini untuk memberikan hadiahnya juga, ya. Oke, untuk memberikan, nanti kami berdua memberikan hadiah untuk juara pertama ya. Baiklah, untuk pemenang dari On Nation Knockout supported by CLARA dengan total skor 468,5 jatuh kepada kata-katanya kalau tangan di atas menang, kita nggak tahu ya. Itu kata legendanya, ya. Tapi ternyata kali ini yang memenangkan On Nation Knockout adalah CLARA.
Oh, congrats.
Mendapatkan beasiswa sebesar 35 juta rupiah dan otomatis Nadia sebagai first runner up mendapatkan skor 464 dan mendapatkan hadiah 25 juta total beasiswa untuk Nadia.
Dan CLARA SHAFIRA berhasil menjadi juara dalam On Nation Knockout Challenge Miss Universe Indonesia 2024 bersama dengan Pejen. Adapun gelar sebagai first runner up berhasil diraih oleh Nadia Ingrida Cuaca. Second runner up diberikan kepada Maria Ardelia Purwaningrum. Dan third runner up On Nation Knockout Challenge Miss Universe Indonesia 2024 with Pejen diberikan kepada Cinta Amijaya.
And that's all the color run, and we're going to have the matchup session. CLARA versus Cinta.
Dan berikut ini penampilan pamungkas dari CLARA SHAFIRA dengan Cinta Amijaya.
The notion is about economy. Alright. Global economic collapse could be a necessary step for humanity to rebuild a more equitable society. And thus, governments should allow such collapse to occur instead of intervening. Keruntuhan ekonomi global bisa menjadi langkah penting bagi umat manusia untuk membangun kembali masyarakat yang lebih adil. Dan oleh karena itu, pemerintah harus membiarkan keruntuhan tersebut terjadi alih-alih melakukan intervensi. On Nation Knockout starts now. Cinta first.
I believe that global economic collapse could be a necessary step for humanity to rebuild a more equitable society. Let's take an example of Indonesia. After what happened in 1998, where there is an economic collapse, as well as globally, where other countries are also not doing well, we see that from that point on, even though it takes a little more time, we see a better democratic society. We see a better society where there's more improvements and developments, not just in infrastructure, but also politically. We want that society to happen, and therefore, once it's so chaotic, the only thing we can do is strive for a fresh start. If we want a more stable and better society and community, then we would really like to have a start.
Time's up. Thank you so much, Cinta. CLARA, your turn.
I respect that you're using Indonesia as an example. However, we must look at this from an international and a global aspect. There have been many cases in history where a recession or a downfall of the economy has only brought negative impacts. For example, in 1926, we had the Wall Street crash, and then we also had the global recession, and I think it was 2008. So coming from a business background and a business degree, I understand that it takes many, many years to get back on your feet if there is truly a global economic collapse. So this would only bring perhaps a social downrise or perhaps even rebellion, which would not impact or benefit the economy nor politics. And reality is, a lot of our global politicians have truly worked hard to provide a healthy and stable world economy. Thank you.
Alright, Cinta, your turn.
I respectfully disagree, Clara, because I believe that you can't only go up. There needs to be a way down. Realistically speaking, it's not possible for you to always go up. There's going to be a point in your life or a point in the system where it's just going to be stagnant or slightly go down below. I think the alternative should be how do we create a better community and how do we strive for a better environment globally as well as for each country. We see that after each of these instances where that happens, each countries go for a better society and they make their own improvements. And that's what we want. Thank you.
Clara.
I understand also that from the statement, it states that we should allow a collapse and not intervene. So perhaps I have explained from a more data-driven or historical background. So let me use a personal one. I have a business, and sadly, the social media got hacked around a year or two ago, and it took me very, very long to get back on my feet to restart. So coming from a personal aspect, I understand that if you just let things be, if you just let a collapse to allow, this will not bring benefits. You truly need to work hard to maintain your current economy, maintain your current financial state, in order to keep thriving. And even if it does collapse, you may not let it be. You must keep working harder to get back on your feet and always keep striving for more. Thank you very much.
Alright, I have a good news. For the final round, you're going to have 3 times giving a statement. So, Cinta, you have your last statement, and Clara, you also have your last statement. Cinta, please. 1 minute.
I'd like to emphasize the motion once again. It says, global economic collapse could be a necessary step for a humanity to rebuild a more equitable society, and government should allow such collapse to occur. Therefore, I'd like to go for the most important statement of this motion, where government should allow for this to occur. From Clara's point of view, I don't think it's feasible, first of all, because she never mentioned how that's going to happen, how with government's interference, the collapse would not happen. But most importantly, why should the government intervene if it's not going to make the society a better place, if it's not going to benefit any of the communities as well? And therefore, my argument still stands, where the government should just let what happens happen. If there's going to be a collapse,
so much.
then it's for the
Clara,
better.
your
Thank you.
last statement.
If we are to consider structure in this debate, then let's look back to the first sentence. It says global economic collapse could be a necessary step. So anything afterwards is just a complementary addition. So once again, we must look at this from a global aspect. From my previous round, I have mentioned that globalization means the interconnection of many independent countries and nations. This means we must not only consider the developing countries, where perhaps the economic is not as optimal as it could be, but also consider the countries that are already financially stable and that do aid other countries, such as mentioned from our previous round. They do financially help. They invest in countries who are still developing in such social programs, in business development programs, and this is why I believe by completely restarting the economy, it would not benefit, it would only make things go down a notch and not improve on a latent scale. This is my final argument. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Clara and Cinta. Maria. Round 2, we're going to have Maria versus Nadia.
Kemudian penampilan pamungkas dari Nadia Ingrida Cuaca dengan Maria Ardelia Purwaningrum.
About governance. Democracy is an inherently flawed system that prioritizes popularity over competence. As such, a global technocracy ruled by scientific and intellectual elites should replace it, even if it undermines individual freedoms. Demokrasi pada dasarnya adalah sebuah sistem yang memiliki kelemahan dan mengutamakan popularitas dibandingkan Teknokrasi global yang dipimpin oleh elit ilmiah dan intelektual harus knockout starts now. My Baiklah, Maria.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. So I would say that I strongly agree with this notion. I came back to my roots again as a doctor, that we value intellectual properties, that we value scientific data. So what it means that the technocracy is a people that are having competence in scientific, in people, technology, and also stuff that we need to rule a country and a community. By using their knowledge, their experience, and also data, we can use to build a nation that learn from the past and together bring a better future. Thank you.
Alright, Nadia.
For me personally, NKRI, Negara Kesatuan Republik Indonesia, a democratic country, itu harga mati. Is that not what you think? For me, democracy means that people by the people. We should not take away the freedom of speech, the freedom of thinking by technocracy. If we cannot vote, then who are we as a nation? People have fought for years to be able to vote. In America itself, they have a women's movement where they march to be able to vote for women. So, why is it now we're moving to global technocracy and making sure that people are no longer able to think normally? So I think that technocracy means that only a few people are represented, and Indonesia is now 270 million people of different race.
Time's up. Thank you so much, Nadia. Cinta.
Thank you. So I would highlight that you say there will be no people in the technocracy. But in fact, technocracy is also people. They are very capable people that will lead our country to be a better country. I will not say that it will lose our nation. It will be Indonesia. But I will also highlight one more thing. With technocracy, there will be less corruption. One thing that we are very against in this country. One thing that we're trying to do better. With technocracy, we will learn and be the best country we can with the data, with the intellectual properties, but also with less corruption. And the people will gain more instead of voting for people they only knew by what they're doing during campaign, which is only by content, which is usually temporary and not saying what they meant.
Time's up. Nadia.
Are you saying that smart people are not corrupt? For me personally, corrupt people are the smartest people. So how do we make sure that technocracy and people who lead it, who are still human and are tempted by money, of course, tempted by power, how are they leading a country with only data in mind? They have to have humanity, they have to understand people, they have to be in local governance. How are we making sure that these people know how to do that? They know how to analyze the data? They know how to be smart? Do they know how to be good?
So I'm not saying there will be no or zero corruption in the country led by technocracy, but it will be less corruption because the decision will be making by data and also by analyzing from the intellectual properties that the country has. So the people with only the democracy, they will choose the smartest people with data. They will only use their knowledge to make a decision what is best by scientific data and also by intellectual property. So they don't have overpower. They don't have what we see now. Like we might argue now, is there any dynasty of political in Indonesia? It will be prevented with this system. And I believe that choosing smartest people to lead our country will be leading our country to better future for our children. And as a mother, I hope that Indonesia will evolve into that kind of country. Thank you.
Last statement, Nadia.
Democracy is highlighting individual freedoms. And in Indonesia, it is a very important thing. We have fought many years to be able to stand our ground against colonialism. and to be able to stand as a society. And democracy is an important part of it. So I think that personally, I want to vote, I want to be heard, and I encourage everyone to do the same. Thank you.
Alright, thank you so much Nadia and Jin, Ellen and Maria. I'm sorry, Nadia and Maria. Boleh salaman? Oke.